So if you're anything like me, you probably share the hate for applying to jobs. It's boring, slow, tedious, and there's probably a million and one things that you'd rather do with your time. And for that reason, in this video, we're going to talk about how you can fully automate this, how you can go to a website like LinkedIn, search for the jobs that you're actually interested in, and then automatically create cover letters, rate these, and make sure that you actually find jobs that are going to be of interest to you. And this is going to be 100% automated. How we do this is through n8n, okay? This workflow is going to be what we're building out today. This is completely free to get started, not only by downloading the blueprints in here for free, but also with all the technology that we're using. This is also going to be beginner friendly. So even if you've never used n8n, we're going to be walking through this whole process together today. Now, how this works is that we have a scheduler here. This means that every so often in intervals, it could be once every hour, once every single day, we're going to use an app called RSS app. What this essentially does is it creates an RSS feed for LinkedIn. So what that means, practically speaking, is it's just going to pull out all of these jobs, okay? And we're going to go through them one by one, and then we're going to add these jobs one by one into our Google Sheet right here, okay? And so we'll pull out things like the title and the job description and the link to the post, as well as the date it was published, any of the benefits that was included in the job description, the description itself. And then we're going to actually use AI to do two things here, which is super freaking cool. The first one is that we're going to get it to rate the job for you. And this rating is based on you. So essentially how this works is we're going to get the AI to scan your resume, and then we're going to get it to scan the job post and then give a rating based on how compatible you are with that job, so that you spend your time focusing on applying to the jobs that actually matter and the ones that you're probably interested in. Second thing is we're going to create a customized cover letter to every single job. How this works is it's again going to scan your resume, and then it's going to scan the job post, and then it's going to create a custom cover letter tailored to every single job out there. So with that being said, we're building this out today. The blueprints are totally for free. All you have to do is download them in the description down below. Come in, hit these three dots, and then import from a file, and this is going to be yours absolutely for free in a matter of a couple seconds. With that being said, let's go ahead and build this out and customize this whole thing from the ground up. Again, this is going to be beginner friendly, so let's dive into it right now. Okay, so let's get into this. The first thing is if you haven't done so already, I'd highly recommend signing up for a free n8n account. You can get a trial going, okay? And then if you decide to use it past the trial, you are going to have to pay for that, just to let you know. With that being said, inside our n8n account, we're going to hit the plus button here and go to workflows and create a new workflow. Now, the first thing that I want to do is I want to start with the trigger. The trigger is essentially in n8n how you start this workflow. And so there's a lot of different ways you can start it, but for me, what I want to do is on a schedule. So what this means is that it's going to run, okay, every single day or hour or at whatever custom interval you assign to it. So we'll go ahead and select that, and we can choose the trigger interval here. Now, I think once every single day is good, because realistically, if you're applying to jobs, you're probably going to be taking a look once every single day and then applying to the ones that make sense. And then you'll probably take a break for the day and then come back the next day, so on and so forth. So I think a day interval is good. And so this out of the box is going to work for our use case scenario. Now, the next thing that we need to do is we actually need to pull all of these jobs off of LinkedIn. Okay. And so again, how we're going to do this is we're going to use RSS app. And so we can literally just get started right now. And keep in mind, again, with this, it is free to get started. However, if you do end up using this for a long period of time, then you will have to pay past the trial period as well. So if we come back to LinkedIn, we can start creating this RSS feed by, first of all, figuring out what kind of jobs and the location that we should actually be creating this RSS feed around. So I just put in here SEO, but you can put in like software engineering, you could put in digital marketing, you could put in AI automation, you could put in accounting, whatever it is that you're looking to go into, and then also the location as well. Okay. And so with that being said, that's pretty much it. You should get a list of all of the jobs out here, and there's going to be a ton of freaking results. And so from here, all we need to do is copy this URL up at the top here, and that's essentially it. We can just take that, okay, and then we can paste it back into the RSS feed here. So we'll click Get Started Now, and we will paste it into this URL, and we'll hit Generate, okay? And then they're going to be working hard on our behalf to automatically generate this RSS feed for us. And this is going to ask you to sign up for an account. So if you haven't done so already, please make sure to go ahead and sign up for your account. And then once you have gone ahead and signed up for that account, then what we can do is we can essentially, we can grab this RSS feed. And so it says your feed is ready. And then it provides this link here. And all we have to do is just hit that nice shiny copy button and then we're good to go. And that's essentially it. The next thing is we're going to circle back to n8n and we're going to hit this plus button here and we're going to search for RSS read. Now, what this is essentially doing is we are going to read an RSS feed. The RSS feed is essentially what we generated here, and we custom generated this based on LinkedIn here. So in practicality, we created our own custom RSS feed. It's going to pull in all of these jobs for SEO company or for SEO positions in Canada, and it's going to update in real time. And how we did that is through RSS.app, and then we can just paste the URL that this website gave us, which is right here. We just paste that into the RSS reader URL section here, and then we're good to go. Okay, so we can test this out. And this is actually going to pull in a list of all of the jobs for us. We can see that we received 25 separate jobs. And so this is the limit. What I want to do is I want to hit this pin button. Now, what this means is that it's going to save this as mock data so that instead of us always having to generate new results, it's just going to save this for the rest of this workflow, because as we're testing it out and setting it up, we're going to be running this quite a bit, and I just want to save a bit of time every single time instead of having to always run this from the ground up. And so that is essentially, in a nutshell, the first thing that we have to do, which is actually getting these RSS feeds. Okay, and so moving past this, what we can do is we can essentially more or less just add this data already into our Google Sheet. This Google Sheet, by the way, is going to be in the description down below. You guys can go ahead and copy this as well. So what we want to do is we want to take these 25 jobs that we just found via this RSS feed. We want to paste that into this particular Google Drive or Google Sheet. Okay. So we'll hit the plus button again, and this time we're going to choose Sheets, specifically Google Sheets, and we'll choose Append or Update Row in Sheet. And so what's going on here in this particular instance, because there's a lot of different things that we can do here inside n8n and Google Sheets, but this is essentially saying, hey, we're going to search for a row, okay, such as this row right here. And if we find that row and if it exists, okay, then we're going to update it. But if it doesn't exist, we're going to create it. And so then you're wondering, well, how do you find the row and how do you know if it's found? We need a unique identifier. So it's going to search on something that's unique. And this URL here is going to be unique. So every single job will have its unique URL, and we can search based on that URL, and it's always going to return the same result. And so essentially why this matters is because let's say we use the RSS feed, okay, and we start scraping LinkedIn jobs. Let's say this SEM manager position comes up twice or more times. Well, we probably don't want to have the same record multiple times because you probably don't want to apply to the same job multiple times, or just have to go through the process of like doing that only to find out that you've already applied to it. So in that case, we're just going to update the existing record instead of creating a duplicate, right? So we're just going to remove any duplicates. And so we'll go ahead and choose Append or Update. And from here, we just want to, first of all, make sure that we connect in our account. This is very simple. You can just click Create Credentials and then sign in with your Google account. And that's essentially more or less it. And then we'll choose the document. So from the drop-down menu, we just need to find this, this particular listing here, which is called Indeed. And I don't know why, but I just always by default call it Indeed, even though it's LinkedIn job posts. But yeah, so we'll go ahead and we'll search for that. And here we go. We have found the document, and then we're just going to put in the sheet. Now the sheet is just the tab down here, and there's only one for this particular Google spreadsheet. So we're good there. And now what we want to do is just pass the data from this RSS feed and put it into the Google Sheet. So we'll literally just drag these variables from the left, which is the input section, into the Google Sheet. So I could just add in the title here, and I could also add in things like the link to the particular job. And then I could add in things like, what else? The publish date here. And maybe, it doesn't look like we have a ton of data. So like, for example, we don't have the company name. We don't have the benefits of this. We don't have the job description. The content here is just literally the whole page here. So everything you see on this page is literally in the content section, but it's actually just in HTML and CSS. And so this isn't very beneficial to us because I don't think anyone wants to look at that and read HTML. So it's not super beneficial. So in a nutshell, that's all we have. Okay, so we need to actually go ahead and get more information. And so what we're going to do here is I'm going to drag this over to the side, and I'm first going to start with something called a limiter. Okay, and what a limit does, or limit instead of limiter, is it's just going to stop 25 results from going through. So we only get one result going through. Now you might be thinking, why the hell would we do that? That defeats the whole purpose. And you would be right. It does defeat the whole purpose of what we're building here. But again, when we're testing, it's just easier to test on one result as opposed to 25, because then it's going to expand the time you're waiting for yourself to test these workflows by 25-fold. So we're just kind of speeding up the workflow for ourselves here. Now, we need to get more information about these individual listings. And luckily, we have the URLs in the RSS feed. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit the plus button here, and we're going to choose an HTTP request. Now, what an HTTP request does is it essentially just grabs all of the content off of this page. So if I was to open up Chrome Developer Tools, you can see this page is literally just this HTML over here. Okay. And so we're going to pull this in because ChatGPT, even though this might not look pretty on our eyes if you're not a programmer, ChatGPT can easily just respond to this and understand what's going on. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll just pass in the URL here. Now, there's no actual data on the input section here to pass in. That's okay. We'll go ahead and grab that. So how we do this is we're just going to unlink this module, test the workflow, because we actually needed to just get test results in here to plug into the HTTP module here. And so since we ran it, we now have access to this data. So I just want to skip over the limiter here and actually grab data straight from the RSS feed, because this is going to be deleted immediately after we're done setting this up. And so you can put in that URL there, test it out, and that's essentially it. That's all we're going to do with this module. And then again, it's just going to pull in the HTML here. Very similarly, it's the exact same data that we see on this side over here in the Chrome Developer Tools. Okay, cool. So we have now received the HTTP request. Again, I'm going to pin this up top here just so that we don't have to redo this every single time. And then what I want to do is I want to pull additional information from this. Okay. And so this is where we're going to be using AI to pull in tons of different information that we didn't receive from this RSS feed. So if we were to go back here and look at this, we got the title and the link and the publishing date, but there's a lot of other additional pieces that I want to get out of here. First of all, I want to get the company name that we are applying to. I want to get the location. I want to get things like the location, and maybe I want to know if it's full-time or part-time. Maybe I want to know how many applicants applied to this, and I want to know about the job description, and maybe I want to know the benefits of this and what I'm getting out of this, all that kind of stuff, right? And so there's a lot of stuff we can grab from this that's just not included in that RSS feed, and no worries, we'll go ahead and grab this. Okay, so we'll hit the plus button here again, and we're going to use ChatGPT or OpenAI over here, and we're going to message a model. Now, first things first, if you guys haven't done so already, you will need to sign up, and you will need to actually pay for ChatGPT to do this, okay? And so that's my bad. This is going to be the only paid thing that you need to do here. It is a minimum of $5. I think you may be able to actually use a different model potentially, maybe something else, but this, if you don't want to pay the $5, you don't have to use the AI, because you can essentially just plug this in straight into the Google Sheet here. Okay, and so how we go about setting up OpenAI is we just need to create a new credential, and we're going to go over to platform.openai.com, and we can essentially go into the dashboard here. Okay, and we can pull in our API key over here and generate a new key. So this could be test LinkedIn job poster and create a secret key, copy this, and then paste it straight in here. Okay, and now we have a connection. You will need to just go into your actual account here, which is like your profile, and then add $5, or else this will not work. So just keep that in mind as well. And we're good to go. We've connected in our ChatGPT account here. Next thing that I want to do is I want to select the model. This is essentially saying, like, they have many different ways that you can use ChatGPT. Some are like newer, advanced models that they've rolled out. Some are older, some are cheaper, some are more expensive. Because we're using a lot of data and we're processing a lot of data here, what I want to do is I want to use 4.0 Mini. So we have 4.0 Mini. Mini is also going to be cheaper as well. So we're not going to spend as much money doing this. And so just keeping that in mind. But when I say money here, it's like maybe a couple cents or a cent. I don't know exactly how much it is, but it shouldn't be that much. Next thing we'll do here is we're going to set up 3 messages. So we're going to hit add message twice. The first one is going to be a system message. The second one will be a user message. And the third one will be an assistant message. Now, how I like to think about this, because a lot of times this kind of confuses people. And I think that OpenAI did a horrible job at actually naming these messages. But the system message is essentially the parameters up here. The user message, you can think about like the input, and the assistant message is the output. Okay, so you can think about it in terms of n8n, how they structure their layout. You have an input coming in, that's all the additional information. This is like things like, here's the job description, or here's the job title, and so on and so forth. The output is like, what information do we want to get out of this? And then the system or parameters is just additional information we're passing in so that the AI can do a good job. And so for the system message, I'm going to say you're an intelligent bot capable of pulling out data from a job listing site. So that looks good to me. Specifically, actually, yeah, we'll just keep it at that. And I'm going to say, here's the job site. And then we'll pass in the HTTP data that we pulled here. So now this has all of the information on this page. It is in HTML, but ChatGPT is going to have no problem deciphering this and understanding what's going on here. And then lastly, we need to decide how we want to structure the output. And this is definitely the hardest part, but we're going to walk through this together. So I'm going to say, please output the data in JSON format. JSON format is essentially how data structure over here. This is the backbone of JSON. If you guys are new to n8n and you want to watch a full 2-hour crash course where I walk through everything so you go from beginner to pro, I will link that in the video as well for you guys to take a look at, but I highly recommend you taking a look at that if you want to learn more about n8n. More or less, what we want to do is output this as JSON data. And I'm going to say follow using the following structure. And so I'm gonna first type this in manually, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna generate it in ChatGPT. So it's gonna be very simple for you to be able to create whatever JSON structures you want in a matter of a couple seconds. First thing is that JSON is separated by key value pairs. So you have key over here and the value over here. This is just kind of boilerplate. What I want to do is I want to pull out certain things like the company name. And then I also want to pull out things like the benefits down here. So benefits. And if you put 2 slashes at the end of the line here, everything is notes past that. So we're just giving additional context to ChatGPT to understand what's going on, but it's not going to read it as actual JSON. It's just notes for the AI to understand. So this could be like, for example, for a 1K plan. This could be medical, etc. So we're just kind of prefacing what we mean by benefits here. And then other things that we may want to pull out here is the job description. So we'll do job description, and we'll also do location. Maybe I want to know like, hey, is this on site? Is it remote? And then we can put in additional information here. So maybe we want it to be like full-time or part-time and so on and so forth. I'm just going to leave it at that so that you guys can kind of like play around with it and get your own version going. But if you're unfamiliar with this kind of stuff, what we can do is head over to ChatGPT and restructure this. And so if you're not familiar with JSON data, which I would imagine a lot of people aren't if they're not, if they don't have a background in software, then this is going to be how you do this. So you can just type in ChatGPT, please create JSON data for the following, pieces of information. And we can just paste in like company name, benefits, location, and job description. And so this will literally just recreate the exact JSON that I created myself. And so more or less, this is the results. And so I can take this one step further and just say, please don't add in any values. And so we're just stripping out all those values that are put in there. And that way, this is important because now all of a sudden, we're just using this as test data. So this is like mock data to be filled in by the AI. And lastly, I'm just going to say here, please make sure everything is a string. Okay. And so it'll go ahead and grab this. And now we can just literally paste this back in here. And then we'd be good to go. So that's an option as well. So we can go ahead, test this out, and see the information that it pulls from this particular job listing here. And it should return all of this data here. Just the one last thing is that it's going to return it in like text here, which is not like ideal. This is like a bunch of useless information. We just need to put the output content as JSON. And then lastly, I'm just also going to say here in the benefits, please separate by commas, and we'll test again. Okay. Oh, this is actually taking a lot longer than I was expecting. Sweet. Okay, so here we go. It's pulling up the company name here, which is EarthCam. Okay, and it's pulling out additional things like the job title, the company name, the benefits, the job description. This job description is way too long. I just want to say, please make it 200 characters or less. And that way it's not going to give us some like long convoluted job description. It's just going to give us something that's way shorter and manageable, because when you're analyzing this, you probably don't want to read a lot. And so moving on from here, what I want to do is I want to use AI to do two more things. Firstly, I want it to rate the particular job, and I want it to generate a cover letter for me. And so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to copy in the last two modules that I built here just to save some time. And instead of kind of walking through how to build them, because they're super repetitive to this last one, I'm just going to talk about them. And then that way, it'll just speed up the workflow here a bit here. So in this particular module here, we're using AI. Again, it's very similar to the last setup where we're using GPT-4o Mini. Okay, we have three messages. One is going to be a system message, a user message, and we're going to be using an assistant message as well. So the first one is going to be the system message, where we essentially just give context. And in this instance, we're just rating the job listing. Okay, so we want to know, like, on a 1 to 5 rating system, how aligned are you to that job? Because obviously you only want to apply to jobs that are going to be, worth your time to apply to. And so with that being said, we have this message here that's just defining the context of the situation. So you're an intelligent bot rating how closely a job listing is to a candidate's skill set on a 5-point basis, or on a score of 5. Give the following points: 3 points for skills matching, 1 point for mostly matching. So if, you're looking at a job listing like this, and the responsibilities or the requirements or whatever are very closely aligned with what you have on your resume or whatever you put inside the AI, then give yourself 3 points. Also give yourself 1 point for having the right experience level. So let's say that this is like, hey, you need to be a senior SEO developer or senior SEO expert, but you're just, out of university. Well, you probably don't want to apply to that because, well, it's not that you don't want to apply to it. It's just that it's going to be a much harder ask to, get hired for a job that you might be underqualified for. So it might be worth your time to apply for jobs within your realm of experience too. So maybe you assign 1 point to that, 1 point for it being maybe a remote position as an example. Maybe you want a remote job. Another point, if you think that the skills on the resume align with the job. And then 3 points if the job qualifications posted match your resume. So it's a lot on the kind of merits here and how similar your skill set is to the job listing, right? And so that's kind of the goal here. I just threw this together, but you can customize this however it is you want, right? And generate that score for yourself. And then next with the user message, this is the inputs. We're just essentially saying, hey, this is the job listing. So we could just literally put in the summary of this job here. And then we also have a sample resume. I just pulled this off something I created on ChatGPT. So Alex Morgan. My name is now officially Alex Morgan. I'm located in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And here's my email and here's my phone number. Please don't call me. I'm just kidding. And then here's all the information. So then we're kind of comparing, okay, like how similar, for example, is this resume here relative to the job listing that we're going to paste in here. So in order for us to do this, what I want to do is, first of all, I'm just going to pin this data here, and then we're going to run the scenario just to get some sample data through the door so that when we connect this back in here, we will have the job details that we can paste in here. And so the job description is going to be this, okay? And you could even put in additional information too. Maybe you wanted to put in the whole job post here. We could even try that to make it a bit more specific. So I'm going to paste in the data from the HTTP request. And then lastly, we have this output score here. And so we're just essentially saying, give us a score. And this is going to be, again, 1 to 5. We know it's 1 to 5 because the system message is basing it on a 5-point system here. So we can go ahead and test this out based on our sample resume here and the sample job. And in this instance, we had 5. And that's pretty good. That's a great match because the particular resume we had here was all about SEO. Now we can move on and we can go to the next step. I'm again going to pin this data here, and we're gonna move on to the next step, which is creating that cover letter. So again, you're an intelligent bot at creating cover letters for a job. Please take the candidate's resume and create a customized cover letter for the job. And one more time, we're just going to pass in all of this particular information about that particular role. And then also the resume here. Okay, so with this, we just want to pass in this description here. So how we do that is we're going to pass in I'm going to delete this and pass in the job description that we generated from AI previously. Because remember, we had to generate additional information like the job description, like the benefits, like the company name, because this wasn't included in the RSS feed. And so we're just mapping this in over here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to paste in the name of the company and then also that location as well. And so this can all be found in this first OpenAI model here. And we're just going to literally move it from this side and map it in. So I'm going to drag this over. And then also I want to drag over the location as well. And then we have our particular resume down below. And then lastly, we have this user or this assistant message, which is just saying, hey, output me a cover letter. And I want it to be with the key cover letter so I know how to reference it every single time. What I mean by reference it every single time is that we're just making the output predictable. And so every time this runs, it will always have like this result, choices, and then message, and then cover letter, and then your cover letter. And so we can just always pull out this cover letter every single time because we're making it consistent here. This is why we're essentially putting it in JSON data. Okay, perfect. Lastly, in order to tie this all together, we just have our Google Sheets here. And now what we want to do is just pull out all of the data from the previous modules, like the cover letter, like the rater, like the additional details, like the RSS feed, and we're going to plug that into this Google Sheet here. I'm going to pin this data one more time up top here, and then we can just enter in the data, and then we're good to go. So firstly, I'm going to delete all this data that we have here. And then we're going to start again. So we have the Google Sheet from the LinkedIn job listing, which is again this sheet here, from sheet number 1 at the bottom here, which is again from sheet number 1 here. And the first thing is that we're going to add in all the data. So we'll go all the way to the RSS feed, and we'll pull in some of the information from here, like the title. And maybe we pull in the publishing date, and maybe we pull in the link here. Okay. And then we can go up to the first OpenAI module, and we can pull in the rest of the data. So we'll paste in this company name here, and the benefits and the job description up top here. And then we just have the rating and the cover letter, and that will be from the other AI models here. So the score will be in the rating, and then we have the cover letter down here. So that's more or less it. If we were to run this, it's going to throw an error here. That is because this is empty. What this is essentially saying is column to match on. So what that means is, like, in this spreadsheet, we're either creating or we're updating. It's one of the two. Now, you create if nothing exists. So if this particular job doesn't exist, then we'd create it. But if it exists, we need to update it. And again, in order for us to know if it's updated, we need to be able to search for that. When we search, if it exists, we update it. If it doesn't, we create it. How we search for it is based on a unique identifier. That unique identifier is going to be the URL, because that's always going to be something that's unique. So we just choose whatever here that we want to that's going to be unique, and the link will always be unique. So then we can go ahead and test this out. And so that looks good to me. It didn't change anything, or it didn't add anything, because this is already there. So if I was to go ahead and delete that link and try it again, this time it's going to add to the spreadsheet down below here. And so we have this additional listing here now. And so that is essentially, in a nutshell, how we can go about the process of automatically pulling out all of these different listings from LinkedIn, okay? Running it through n8n and then pasting this into a Google spreadsheet here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to unpin all of this data, and we're going to give this one final run just to make sure that everything works smoothly and properly here. And then that'll be it for this video. So I'm going to go ahead and again, unpin this, and then save it and test the workflow response here. Okay, so we're done running these 3 results here, and we can see the results coming in. So essentially, we have different ratings going on here, like a 5, like a 2, and like a 5 up here again. And so, yeah, more or less, this is the results. You can go in and you can essentially try and ask the chat, like, just as like future revisions, what you could do is you could ask ChatGPT to actually pull out the employer's name if it's located there, or you could put in more information, like, I don't know, for example, this name that it's pulling in here, DeBryan Marketing Group LLC, which is good. And then it puts in additional information here as well. You could specify kind of further down the chain, actually, like getting the results that you want to. And so, like, yeah, you can spend a bit of time customizing it and making sure it's as good as it can possibly be. Just the last thing that I want to talk about here is that, let's say that instead of just pulling out jobs from one particular RSS feed, maybe you want to pull out multiple jobs. So maybe instead of just SEO experts, you want to pull out digital marketing experts as well. Okay. So what you could do is, of course, take this URL, you could paste it back in here and create another RSS feed. Within n8n, all we do here is we just, and I'm going to actually clone this, and I'm going to just enter it down below here just so you can kind of see how this works. We can just add in as many of these modules as you want. So we'll hit the plus button in between here, and we'll type in edit fields. Okay. And more or less what we're going to do is we're just going to add in a name here, which is going to be RSS feeds. And this can be like, we'll change this to an array. An array is just a fancy way of saying a list. And with lists, you can just go through lists one by one. And that way we can go through multiple of these RSS feeds. So one for digital marketing, one for SEO, one for Google Ads, whatever the case is. And all we need to do is have some boilerplate here, and this will be in the description down below for you guys to copy, but we need to have 2 square brackets here, okay? And then we need to have quotation marks around every single RSS feed. So if we were to come in here and copy this RSS feed, we just paste it inside those quotation marks. And then for every additional feed we want to add in here, we just put a comma and then quotation marks again. And so we could add as many of these different feeds as we want. We can test this out. And now this is the results. And we can just, while this is the same RSS feed, we could just essentially go through these as many of them as we want. How we do that is we add one more module here called split out, okay? And we just drag our RSS feeds module here, which means that it's going to go through these individually. First, what's going to happen is it's going to start with the first one. Then it's going to go through that. Then it's going to go through the second one. So this one is going to be first up top here, and then secondly. Cool. And we can test run this out just to see. And we can see that we had, one particular field here, which is the edit fields. We created these multiple modules here, and it actually broke it down into 2. And so we could go through this multiple times and plug this back in. First time we'll get the first RSS feed. Second time we'll get the second RSS feed. You could have 100 RSS feeds in here if you want to supercharge and get hundreds or thousands of jobs every single day. So the option is yours. Obviously that's like excessive, and you probably could get by with way less than that, but that's kind of the principle. So with that being said, guys, thanks for watching. I hope you found value. And this is going to be hopefully something that will save you just so much freaking time moving forward when it comes to all things related to job hunting. Obviously, it's a nightmare having to go through and always kind of be looking and searching and creating cover letters and doing all this work. There's a lot of legwork involved, and a lot of this stuff can be automated. So just hopefully a system like this will save you some time. If you guys are interested in automating other aspects of your business or your life, you can take a look at my school community over here, which was launched about a month ago. And this is where you get access to every single one of my additional training modules, courses, and blueprints, as well as weekly calls 5 days a week from Monday all the way to Friday. The reason being is that a lot of the times when you're building systems out like this, it doesn't go perfectly, you encounter errors, and there's nothing more frustrating than when you encounter an error and you just don't know how to solve it and you have nobody to turn to, which is why those calls are there, to help bypass a lot of those blockers that you're going to inevitably run into at some point or another. With that being said, guys, really appreciate your time. If you guys haven't done so already, make sure to subscribe to the channel down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.